This is the trade review. I am Chase. With me, as always, my man Cody. We got another trade, and this one is actually involving us. Big high stakes league. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
Yeah, this is our Premier League, at least from last year. That's going into year two, Royal Rumble, in which you have the belt hanging behind you for being the champion of that league. But I mean, you got two really good pieces here that were serving you well last year, Davante Adams and DeAndre Hopkins, that I'm picking up here. But first, let's get into the settings. It is a 28 team 2 copy, so you can treat it like a 14 team league. Best ball start 11 with a 1.75 tight end premium. And in this one, we are getting Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Warren, 24 first for Davante Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, 24 second, 499 fab. That's basically meaningless.
I mean, the big thing here is like team context. So, as you mentioned, I did win last year, so I have a competitive team, but I have a lot of aging assets. I also had Tyreek, Devonte Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Tyreek, and Diggs, of course. Jeez, forgot about Diggs. And so I had a lot of these guys that are 29 plus, and I'm like, all right, while Davante Adams is a very good player, DeAndre Hopkins still very good. Looking to make a move with some of these older guys where I'm like, all right, who needs points? You are an up and coming contender as well. Now you have a lot of like young up and coming players who can very well propel you to a title if everything goes well for you. So I think it was kind of a match made in heaven here. So that's kind of where I was looking at. I just looked at your team and kind of figured out where you were going. And I'm like, all right, will this work for you? And,
Yeah,
and thankfully you had some interest.
I mean, we've been talking about this one basically since I took JSN in this draft. I mean, we
True.
both don't really
That's
like
true.
the rookies, but in this context with where your team was, you do need to hedge the bet a little bit if you don't plan on just fully going all the way in this year. Because if you do again and it doesn't work, I mean, you're on a dispersal rebuild team if it doesn't really work
Truly.
out right. And so I think this was just a really good match, knowing that you had either the Davante Adams. I was trying to get that Diggs or Tyreek from you, but I knew that we probably wouldn't get there. I put up a Jalen Warren for the 24 second and basically sent that one out across the league, and that was really what got us over the edge here. Do you want to give us just a little bit of like how you break this one down, just terms of value?
Yeah, so like when you look at this, like I think the best player in the deal, like if you look at it from that context, like I think the points wise is Adams, but the value wise is going to be JSN right now. I think JSN has the most value of all these players. I'd probably say Adams after that, the first, Hopkins, the second, Warren, and then the Fab. So like the Fab again, not really a factor here. Just with free agency and things like that, trading of fab does happen quite a bit so that you actually can get the advantage. I mean, we saw Brock Purdy last year be a waivers guy that actually helped win some people leagues. So that fab can come in handy, but it's just an accumulation of it. So I think value wise, I would say taking the first in JSN, I'm happy with the value, gives the youth aspect, but you win the points here and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it was. It's a value for point swap. There's
Yep.
a potential, that maybe I do end up moving that JSN, moving the 24 first. But as that team is looking right now, that 24 first does appear to be pretty locked into the playoffs. If I'm, not trying to be overly boasting about the team, but I think it is there, and it is a lottery system, but the lottery only matters for the non-playoff teams here, and so the 24 first, if people are looking at it as the playoff, doesn't really hold as much value. I think you can line that up with DeAndre Hopkins, JSN, and Davante Adams. I think there is a little bit of difference there, but I think that can be made up by the 24 second for Jalen Warren, depending on what
Yep.
you think the value split is there. So overall, I think it was a really fair deal, helped us both. And, I really was glad to get this one done with you. I think it helps
Same.
both the teams here.
I think, and it's one of those things too. Like we don't really trade all that often. Like we are very competitive with each other in leagues. Like we are in an auction startup right now, and Cody is out for my throat all the time. So like we are always combating. So a lot of times like we just don't match up in trades. Also, our team builds can be similar. So this time it was one of those situations where he had youth, thankfully, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to make this deal with you. I don't think we would have even had the conversation. It was the combination of JSN and the first. And I'm like, well, let's see if we can make something happen. And it happened to work out. So I think it was a great deal for both sides. I stay competitive. I make you more competitive, which is a scary thing because we are in the same conference. But yeah, no, man, I think it was a great deal. don't really have any issues with either side. And it's from everything we've heard too. It seems like it's been pretty kosher on that too.
Yeah, whenever the deal isn't very much talked about, then it's probably just a pretty chopped up,
Yep.
fair cut deal.
Happy about that. Always happy about that.
Absolutely love it. But hey, if you want to keep watching these videos, make sure you do like, subscribe, and comment on the videos below. Tell us which side you think won. You can also follow us over on the Twitter handles that you see below the screen. If you are only listening, though, I am at Cody Smith TFDR. Chase is at Trophy Chase TFDR. Make sure you're tapped in with everything that we are doing over there and with Destination Devi on the Overreaction Pod as well.
Yep, absolutely. And thanks so much for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft